Hello everyone, welcome to a video that I have really no real thought. I mean, there's a thought behind it, of course, but I don't have like a script written, no like real trail line of thought, but I just wanted to come on here and talk to y'all about my feelings. I guess you could say. I have been in a funk for a while now, I feel like, but especially this past week, I feel like it's been hitting pretty hard, and I initially had chalked it up to depression because that does rear its ugly head, especially if I forget to take my meds, or just even sometimes when I am really good with my meds, it will still pop up. And so I was like, okay, that's just happening right now. Like, I've been good with my meds. Like, I think I missed one dose a couple of days ago, but aside from that, I'm really good about taking my meds, and so, you know, I just figured I'd ride it out. But I don't know, I feel like a lot of it certainly has to do with the state of the world. You know, I think a lot of people are definitely feeling the stress and just drain from everything that's going on, be it politically, socially, economically, financially, personally, etc., and it's exhausting. 2020 has been exhausting, but in a way that I don't know that I've ever experienced before, you know? Like, this is a totally different kind of drained feeling that I've ever felt in my life, and I mean, I hope everything is over soon enough, but I don't have control over the state of the world. Sure, I'm doing my part, my small part in trying to, well, not even trying to, I am, to the most of my ability, staying quarantined, socially distancing, wearing my mask, all that kind of stuff. You know, I feel so trapped. You know, I was never a big leave the house kind of a person in the first place, but like certainly used to leave my apartment more than I do now, and I just am really feeling it, and it's certainly got me down. But, you know, since I can't really control that sort of stuff, or, you know, what's going on politically and all that, you know, I'm kind of at the point where I want to control the one thing that I guess I have a certain degree of control over. I don't have complete control over my weight, but I think I'm definitely at a point where my weight is bothering me a lot more than it has, and I feel like I'm at such a weird place with it because, you know, over the past probably my whole life, you know, definitely my whole life I've struggled with my weight, but I've been trying more so, you know, these past couple years-ish to be more kind to myself in terms of my weight and to embrace it and not be so critical of my body, you know. But at the same time, you know, that was a lot easier even like a year or two ago when I was a bit more fit and in shape. You know, it's just easier because in terms of, you know, societal standards, which I view myself through, I looked better than I do now, purely just because, as I said, I was more fit. I've never been like super six-pack fit or anything, but certainly, you know, that was probably like 20 pounds ago, and I guess I'm just, I don't know, like I said, I'm trying to be nicer to myself. Apologies for my air conditioning coming on, but I think I've also been using that as a bit of an excuse to not take care of myself physically, you know, like, oh, I don't have to be as hard on myself about working out and eating better and that sort of a thing. And I do think that that's true. I do think that, you know, I've certainly at many points in my life had problems with working out excessively and not eating enough or eating way too much. I mean, I've been on many ends of the spectrum for sure. I've talked about my weight before, you know. I mean, I guess just in case you didn't know, you're curious. I mean, I guess I've always been chubby for sure, and growing up, my friends, I don't know how or why or what, but like, I was always the fat friend. I always had very thin friends for the most part, and that was mainly just genetically. They were all very thin, and I was always the chubbier one, you know? Just the Italian side of my family, we've got huskier genes, that's for sure, and those are the genes that I inherited for the most part. And, you know, I guess the first time I can really remember feeling upset about my weight was probably, I actually don't remember what year it was, like how old I was. Maybe it was in, well, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there were many times before that I was upset about being the chubby friend, but one that I can very specifically remember, and I'm thinking maybe it was like 6th grade, because I think that might have been the only year that I was friends with that one friend. But either way, okay, so I had, for my birthday, got to go to Valley Fair. You know, it's like I actually don't know, is it like a chain theme park? I don't know. There was one here in Minnesota, and, you know, it was all the rage. They had a water park and, you know, all the carnival type rides, roller coasters and games and foods and whatever else. And I'd gone there with 2 of my best friends at the time, and, it was probably my mom, took a picture of me and my 2 friends, and, you know, they were both on either side of me, I think, in the picture, and we were just like arms linked walking around, and we all had been at the water park, and so we had our swimsuits on and shorts, and we were just walking around letting our swimsuits dry off and stuff and going on rides. But I remember the back of my swimsuit was pretty low cut, and you could see like my back fat rolls, like even as a little kid. And, you know, I've got my 2 skinny friends on either side of me, and I remember seeing that picture and just like sobbing. And that's so sad to me. Like, thinking, you know, I'm not wearing waterproof mascara right now. I did not want Waterworks, but for a little kid to be so upset over back rolls, like, that's a whole nother level of sad and upsetting to me. You know, mentally as a kid, that's not what you should be worried about, but it's always been something that I've worried about, struggled with, whatever you're gonna want to say. And then it just continued, and, you know, I don't want anyone to, I don't know, I guess I'll put it this way. My mom had her own struggles growing up with her weight and everything, pretty opposite of mine, but so she's always, at least when I was growing up, was almost always on a diet. And so when I first was like, oh my god, I'm fat, I need to lose weight, you know, who do I turn to but my mom, who's like the diet queen. And so I was always going on diets with her, even when I was really little. And like, granted, you know, my mom did the best she could to like make sure that I was eating healthy and that sort of a thing. And I think because for whatever reason my body just never, I don't know, I mean, I've never been clinically diagnosed with specific eating disorders, but I think back on it and it's like, you know, I remember when especially in high school, I had a notebook, a sketch pad actually, you know, that I did drawings in, and I would have a page where, I mean, this is the piece of paper that I have sitting around here from a Stitch Fix, but you know, you've got your normal sheet of paper. I would have it split in 2, and then I would draw a little calendar, so 30 or 31 squares in this half, and I only allowed myself to eat food that I could fit into each one of those little squares each day, and have room for me to have listed off my weight in each square. Like, a little square this tiny, you know, like that's how much food I allowed myself each day. And so it was little to nothing, and yet even though I was doing that and working out for like 2 to 3 hours a day, I was never thin. You know, looking back on pictures and stuff, I'm like, dang, I was skinny, but like I was skinny for me. I wasn't at all skinny societally. You know, I've always had curves for sure. And I think since I never did get thin or anything, you know, people didn't worry about me. And so I just felt like a failure. Because isn't that the sick mentality that so many people with eating disorders have? You know, you crave having people asking, like, are you eating enough? Like, are you okay? Like, you want that because that's validating. That means that what you're doing is paying off. Like, you are getting skinny, and skinny to the point where people are worried about you. Like, that's a goal. It's a sick goal, but when you're mentally ill, you're sick. You know, it all kind of makes sense there, but since that never happened to me, you know, I just felt like I was never doing enough, or, you know, even when I was doing things perfectly, you know, not eating for days straight or whatever, it was never good enough, you know? I was never thin enough. And I think grad school was rough for me. Being out, living on my own, and just really, really stressful time. I mean, anyone who's been through grad school can certainly attest to this or agree with this, but it's a rough time. And because I was out in Boston, you know, by myself, you know, no family or friends out there, like, I felt isolated to the point where I could just let myself go, you know, and indulge in bad habits. You know, that's certainly when my dermatillomania really picked up and was at its worst. And that's also when I took on binge eating. And that was one of the points where I was at my heaviest. But then when I moved back after grad school, I was able to get my weight a little bit more under control that first year back here. But I think I'm either at my highest weight or even like maybe 5 pounds higher right now. And I don't feel good. And I'm in this weird, like, twisted mentality because I don't want to... It's really hard to even put into words. I feel very stuck in that I'm scared to let things get out of hand by going on a diet or even, you know, a lifestyle change, whatever you're going to want to call it. Because I have a very long history of taking things too far in one direction or another. And I don't want that to happen again. I also don't want it to trigger getting worse, you know, going in the opposite direction, eating not enough to the point where then I just binge like crazy. At the same time, I don't like feeling the way that I feel in my body right now. Like, I just feel so uncomfortable, and I don't think it's because I'm uncomfortable. I mean, I am uncomfortable with how I look, but I don't think that's the main reason why I'm wanting to lose some weight right now. But at the same time, my brain is telling me, like, no, Cassie, you know, you have just been programmed to feel that way. You should really feel great about the way that you are right now because all bodies are beautiful and this, that, the other. And it's like, yeah, but I also think that that's holding me back. I think it's because, yes, all bodies are beautiful. You know, if you have a body, that's a beautiful thing, you know? A soul needs a body to reside in. And we were all given different residences. But when you get to the point where it's like, I'm out of breath way too quickly, doing things that I should not be out of breath doing. I feel sluggish and I feel incapable of a lot of things, I guess. And I don't like feeling any of those things. And so, do you guys get what I'm trying to say? Where I feel stuck? Because I don't want to play into things that, oh, if I just lose weight, I'll be happier. Because I know that that's not the case. You know, looking back on my history and everything, even when I was the thinnest that I wasn't happy. I was very unhappy and I was very hungry. And so I know that that doesn't fix things mentally. But I want to get better physically because that is something that I can control for the most part, you know? I think I've gotten it into my head pretty good these past couple years, knowing that like my body is never going to look the way that I want it to look, and that's okay. I also know that the world sees me very differently than how I see me, which is actually a good thing because most of the world would look at me and think I'm pretty average. I look at me and I see a gross, disgusting monster. So I'm actually glad, you know, that the world sees me differently. But yeah, I just want to work on things overall. But then I also get scared like putting this out into the world because I don't like for people to know that I'm trying to make a change. Because then it gets evident, like if I am not following those people's guidelines of like how quickly I should or shouldn't be morphing into a skinnier me, you know, my efforts will be seen as a failure. And I don't want to ever have, like, I don't want to read those comments on my videos like, wow, Cassie, it's been a couple months and you look exactly the same. You know, when in reality, maybe I've lost, you know, 5 pounds in those 2 months. And like, while that might not seem like a lot, it's still progress. And for me, I would much rather do that slow and steady rather than like drop it quick and then gain it back quick. I would rather slow and steady and then be able to maintain. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know this is all over the place. I don't honestly know that. Sure, there's a purpose. There's a purpose to this video. I think it's good to talk these things out, right? And just put it out into the world so that if anyone else is struggling, you can at least know that you're not alone. And hopefully this can be a reminder to myself maybe a few months from now, like, hey, look where you've come from, you know, like, yeah, maybe you have only lost 5 pounds in 3 months or 10 pounds in 3 months, but like, that's pretty good. And look at where you were mentally back then. Hopefully that will have changed a few months from now. Hopefully I'll be doing better mentally, and hopefully the world will also be doing better, because that would help me out a lot as well. But right now I can't control the world. I don't think I ever will be able to. I don't think I would want that kind of a responsibility. But what I can control is what and how much I'm putting in my mouth. And what I can control is how much I'm moving and grooving. So, I'm gonna try and do that, and I'm gonna try and do it responsibly and healthily. I am working with someone, so, you know, they have helped me to put together foods that I should eat, what's gonna best suit me. You know, it's always tough coming up with a nutrition plan for a vegetarian in terms of weight loss, but I think we have put together something that is doable for me and that won't be complete and utter torture. It's gonna be different than what I'm doing now, but that's kind of the point, you know? So that's that. I hesitate to say, like, if anyone wants me to do, like, what I'm eating in a day, maybe not label it as what I eat in a day for weight loss, because I don't want to put that kind of stuff out into the world. I don't want to trigger anyone else, you know? I don't want anyone to be made to feel like they need to change. This is purely just something that I'm doing because I am uncomfortable where I'm at and I want to change. So that's where I'm at. I think that's about it. You know, I think things would be a lot easier. It's a strange thing being on YouTube. I love it. Don't get me wrong. But it's very strange having to look at yourself as often as you do as a YouTuber when you edit your own videos like I do. Because that really has always been my trigger point, is photos of me. Be it that picture at the theme park. I can very specifically remember another picture that made me sob and go into a horrible diet. Was in high school when I was on a dance team, and it was one of our group photos in our costumes, and I just thought I looked massive. And granted, it's because everyone on my team had very naturally small frames, and I didn't. So even though, like, that was probably 50, 60 pounds ago, so I was smaller, much smaller. I saw myself and I literally sobbed. Like, and that's so sad. Like, that's, I'm gonna start crying again. That's so awful. For a kid to, and I know I was a teenager at that point, but, like, you're still a kid when you're a teenager. For a young woman to get a picture of herself and for her to be so ashamed of her own body that it makes her sob, that's... We've got a lot of work to do as a society and how we treat ourselves based on our physical being. So I'm gonna go and put in the work that I can put in and that I feel is appropriate. Somehow I hope this video was helpful for someone. Like I said, I think the only thing that it's really going to be helpful for is me in the future, and also if anyone else is struggling, just so you can know that you are not alone. There are plenty of other people, especially right now, when our lives are just so different and so much more sedentary and unhealthy. But I want to reclaim my happiness and my joy in being alive. I want to celebrate the body that I have, and in order to do that completely, I know that I need to make some changes, and so I am going to be making those changes. In the meantime, I know the first rule of the internet is that if you don't want the internet to do something, don't tell the internet not to do that thing, but I'm gonna try and just say, please don't comment on my weight in my videos. It does not help me in the slightest to read a comment. saying that you can see how much weight I've gained, or how you think I look so unhealthy, or how you think I'm so disgusting and fat and ugly and whatever else. Like, I'm in a vulnerable place right now. And while I have grown some pretty thick skin over the years, when I am in these states where I am a bit more / a lot more mentally vulnerable, I really would appreciate if y'all could be a little cognizant of what you're saying, to not only to me but also to others. So let's all try and remember to be nice to each other and ourselves. I hope you all are doing better than I am mentally right now, but if you are also struggling, again, you know, just a little reminder, you're not alone. And yeah, I hope, I have hope, and I think aside from hoping that you all are doing well, I hope next time I make one of these kinds of videos, it's a much happier update. So until then, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and stay well until then. Bye guys.